What's up? Today I'm going to be going over 3 unconventional, uncommon career tips or advice that I've gotten and that I've used throughout my civil structural engineering career. Let's jump into it. Tip number 1 is that it's always your fault. The other concept is also extreme ownership. I've actually gotten this from the book Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. This concept has been invaluable in my career because it's helped me work more efficiently, it's helped me solve problems better, it's helped me get promoted, and most importantly, it's helped my team out. The concept behind this is that you take responsibility, you take ownership of everything that happens in your world, whether it's something that you're directly assigned to, like a task or a project, or even your teammates. How can this mentality of extreme ownership help you out in your career? I'll give you an example. Let's say you're choosing between 2 engineers, engineer A and engineer B, and you're supposed to figure out who to promote or who has the potential for promotion. Engineer A and engineer B are given the same task. Let's say the task is to submit a set of drawings or blueprints for a new building design and have the calculation package along with it. And for both engineer A and engineer B, they both fail miserably at the same things. So let's say you talk to engineer A. The engineer A does not have the extreme ownership mentality. You ask that person what went wrong during that project. Engineer A says, oh, you know, the other engineers that were supposed to help me, they did a horrible job on the design of the building. They didn't know what they were doing, they were slow, and their designs were inefficient. I need better engineers. Then you go talk to engineer B, the one that has that extreme ownership mentality. Engineer B goes, yes, we didn't do too well on that project. It was a failure on my part. The engineers that I was working with, I wasn't up to speed on their level of competency. They needed more training, and essentially what they produced was subpar and substandard to what we wanted to submit. Next time, I'm gonna sit down with them a little longer and have more meetings with them to see where they're at technically and conceptually on these types of buildings that we're designing. And if they're not up to par, I'm gonna go train and have them go through some examples so they know exactly what they're doing. Not only that, I'm going to meet with them on more touch points, so even as they're progressing through their work, I'm going to see what direction they're headed in and help them and support them in a way that we can get a good product out. Now, which engineer would you promote? Engineer A, the one that blamed everybody, or engineer B, the one that took responsibility for the project and that ultimately failed, but they were also able to see the problems, what went wrong, and what can we do next time to solve it or get ahead of it, or if something else like that happens again, they have a contingency plan. They're not complainers, they're problem solvers, exactly what engineers are. Having that mindset makes you a better learner and a better engineer. Tip number 2 is be aggressive or ask for forgiveness, not permission. Of course, there's limits to this. Don't do anything unethical. For me, when I apply this to my career, if it's ethical and if it's going to help the team out, then I'm gonna go do it. So how does this look like in your career path? Well, for example, some examples in mine, I would always try to catch myself saying things like, man, I wish we had some training on how to do this engineering software. I wish someone would just teach me. Or what if someone optimized this spreadsheet by putting in some coding? It'd be really cool if someone knew coding and they knew how to optimize this calculation spreadsheet and make the workflow a lot more efficient. Man, wouldn't that be great? Whenever I would catch myself thinking those things or saying those things, that's when I knew that there was an opportunity there to help out, to be proactive. When I thought it would be really helpful if someone made some tutorials for the new software that we got, I would just make them myself. It was ethical and it would help the team, so I didn't even ask for permission. I just made it, and then I just put it online where my teammates could use it if they wanted it. Luckily, those tutorials were helpful and they were starting to help more and more of my team members out. It wasn't the official company tutorial or anything like that, but it was helpful enough that a lot of engineers benefited from it. And yes, that's how my YouTube channel started. I thought someone should show the new students, show something online to share what it's like to be a civil structural engineer and the ups and downs of it. I thought it'd be really cool if someone did that, but again, I knew no one was gonna do it. If anyone was gonna do it, it would have to be me. It was ethical and it would help engineers and students out, so I did it anyways. I didn't even ask permission, or at that time I didn't ask my company permission, but once the channel started taking off, fortunately I was able to work it out with my company. This also applies to learning new skills as an engineer. We often use spreadsheets, and I often hear engineers complaining about, man, what if we had some coding knowledge and then we could link all of these things together? It would make our calculation and workflow process so much better. You know what the engineers that have this mindset do? They go learn programming. They go learn coding. They learn it by themselves. They didn't ask to learn it or anything like that. They just went ahead and did it. They help their team and they help themselves by learning a new skill set on their own. And that's why I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Brilliant. Brilliant is an amazing tool for learning STEM interactively. It helps you gain a deeper understanding of concepts in math, science, and computer science by taking you through those subjects in a fun, hands-on way. For example, in Brilliant's Computer Science Fundamentals course, they break down seemingly complicated concepts such as decision-making, repetition, and solution searching into easy to understand interactive visuals with simple explanations. It's great because you can always be learning something new at your own pace or on the go. To get started for free, visit brilliant.org/MattPicardal or click on the link in the description below. And the first 200 of you will get 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription. The third and final tip is that it's okay to cheat and steal. Sometimes. To put it more nicely, don't reinvent the wheel. This is contrary to what we initially learn in school, and I think can sometimes slow you down in your learning path, especially if you're a newer engineer. In school, they tell you to design a beam, and you don't know what the final answer is. You gotta do all your calcs, all of your calculations to figure it out. And the reason I think this can hurt you on if you're a fresh graduate is because it's a really easy trap to get into analysis paralysis. Essentially, instead of solving the problem and moving on with your design, you're thinking too much. You keep looking at things that aren't very important because you're still trying to figure out the problem, and you're left indecisive, and you're not doing anything except thinking and going around in circles. As a new engineer, if you're given something to design in the real world, in a real building, you should start off with what the final result should look like and then work your way towards there. This will help you avoid that analysis paralysis trap, and it's a good way to back check your work. Because let's face it, if you're out in the real world and you're working for a firm and you're designing buildings, chances are your firm, your structural engineering company has designed that building or something similar to it a lot of times, or else they wouldn't be in business. And you should be proactive about this if you're a new engineer, because that project manager may just tell you to design, hey, we have a parking structure, go design those parking structure beams, and they may or may not expect you to already know how to do that. Chances are you probably don't as a new engineer. So you could potentially be spending hours and hours and hours learning how to design a beam, learning if the software program that you're using is giving you the right answers. Do you even know if your beam size is right, your designs are right? You just have a big question mark and you don't even know if it's right. Versus if you were proactive about this, if your manager told you to design that beam, you could ask them, hey, are there any example projects, or what type of beam size are you expecting as I'm doing these calculations? By the way, here's the workflow. This is how I'm gonna solve it. I'm gonna do a quick hand calc, and then I'm gonna go into some software, and then I'm gonna get the beam design. Does that seem right to you? By asking those types of questions, you will learn a lot from your seniors. I was always amazed back in school when I would have professors that would already know what the designs were because they've been designing in the industry. It was crazy to me when I could spend an hour on a design or beam design and show them, and they would instantly know if it was right or wrong. But by asking those questions at work, you can figure out those rules of thumb yourself. Yes, it comes from experience, but a lot of them have these back of the napkin calculations that are really quick and easy to do. And they're great to improve your structural engineering skills. And those are often things that you probably won't find in your textbooks. A lot of it's from experience, and You just have to do your best to ask those questions so you can learn those too. Thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe as it really helps out the channel, and I'll see you next time.